Jaya Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Hari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Hari Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Hari Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shirare. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Gaura Premanandi Adiribo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Papakacharya Stotara Satashi Shrimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Papakacharya Asto Satashi Shrimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Sridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavana Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Swami hand me the 2 books, Bhagavad Gita and that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are continuing with our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is a very, very exciting chapter that we have been studying, and there are so many wonderful realizations within this chapter. So we're reading from Canto 10, Chapter 16, and we were on Text 40. Krishna chastises the serpent Kaliya. Jnana Vijnana Nidaye. Jnana Vijnana Nidaye. Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye. Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye. Agunaya Vidkaraya. Agunaya Vikaraya. Namaste Parakritaya. Namaste Parakritaya Cha. Namaste Parakritaya Cha. Jnana Vijnana Nidaye. Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye. Agunaya Vikaraya. Namaste Parakritaya Cha. Devotees, Jnana Vijnana Nidaye. Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye. Agunaya Vikaraya. Namaste Prakritaya Cha. Jnana Vijnana Nidaye Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye Agunaya Vikaraya Namaste Parakritaya Cha Jnana Vijnana Nidaye Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye Agunaya Vikaraya Namaste Parakritaya Cha Jnana Vijnana Nidaye Manenanta Shaktaye Agunaya Vikaraya Namaste Prakritaya Ta. Anyone else? Jnana of consciousness, Vijnana and spiritual potency, Nidaye to the ocean, Brahmane to the absolute truth, Ananta Shaktaye whose potencies are unlimited, Agunaya to whom who is never affected by the qualities of matter, Avikaraya who does not undergo any material transformation, Namaha obeisances, Te unto you, Prakritaya to the prime mover of material nature, Cha end. Translation. Obeisances unto you, the absolute truth, who are the reservoir of all transcendental consciousness and potency of the possessor of unlimited energies. Although completely free of material qualities and transformations, you are the prime mover of material nature. So you can repeat, obeisances unto you, the absolute truth, who are the reservoir of all transcendental consciousness and potency, and the possessor of unlimited energies. Although completely free of material qualities and transformations, you are the prime mover of material nature. Purport. This is a purport by the sincere disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Those who consider themselves intellectual, philosophic, or rational should carefully note here that the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ocean of all knowledge and consciousness. Thus, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord does not entail giving up the method of rationally comprehending reality. Rather, one merges into the ocean of rational, logical comprehension. The Supreme Lord is the perfection of all sciences and all forms of knowledge, and only envious and trivial minds would deny this fact. I'm going to actually read again part of this purport because it's very powerful. Thus, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord does not entail giving up the method of rationally comprehending reality. Rather, one merges into the ocean of rational, logical comprehension. The Supreme Lord is the perfection of all sciences and all forms of knowledge, and only envious and trivial minds would deny this fact. Om Agena Timidandasya Gena Gena Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurube Namaha. So I offer my respects to all the sincere devotees that have come today to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I offer my respects to His Holiness Bear Krishna Goswami, who I've heard from for so many years. So I'm praying that he will empower me to speak today. So I'm just speaking on his behalf, so hopefully I will not say anything that will embarrass him. And my respects unto Irmala Devi Dasi, who is our famous scholar, and Drishta Prabhu, who I'm used to speaking in front of, and all the assembled devotees. So when I first started reading this verse, what came to my consciousness was two different points which I'm going to bring up. I'm going to also read from the Bhagavad Gita from the 9th chapter, because in the 9th chapter, the 4th, 5th, 6th verses, it speaks about how the Lord is everywhere, He's within everything, but He's not within everything. And Drishta Rudrani and myself, we've been studying the 9th chapter, and also in the later verses of the 9th chapter, it also speaks about how even if one has all kind of bad nature due to their birth, that they can surrender unto Krishna and receive Krishna's mercy. And also, the other point that I wanted to bring up, which isn't in the commentaries, but which was my own realization when I was reading according to Shastra and from what I've heard, is a comparison between the prayers and the mood of the Nagapatnis and the difference between when the wives of the Yagna Brahmanas approached Krishna. And I found that to be so interesting, how we see how the Supreme Lord is able to reciprocate according to one's particular mood in devotional service, how one approaches Him. So first I would like to read the commentary. This is commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Obeisances unto you, the Absolute Truth, who are the reservoir of all transcendental consciousness and potency, and the possessor of unlimited energies. Although completely free of material qualities and transformations, you are the prime mover of material nature. So the following is the purport. In the mood of the Jnanis, the Nagapatnis prayed, we offer respects to the Absolute Truth, who is the reservoir of all knowledge and Chit Shakti, spiritual potency, Jnana Vijnana, just as the ocean, Nidaye, is a reservoir of all gems. So here we're seeing that everything is contained within Krishna. In the mood of devotion, the Nagapatnis continued, we offer respect to you as the ocean of infinite, inconceivable powers, Ananta Shakti. So how deep is an ocean? We can't even imagine the depth of the ocean. And in the bottom of the ocean, there are great jewels. We offer respects to you, whose transcendental qualities never transform into material qualities, agunaya vikaraya. So here we see that although the Lord appears to be within this world, He's never affected by the modes of nature. He's never affected by goodness, passion, or ignorance, as are we, and certainly as was Kaliya's serpent. We offer respects to you who have a variety of non-material spiritual qualities, aprakritaya. So Krishna has so many spiritual qualities, and we see how He's relating differently with many of His different devotees in this particular pastime. In the pastime of Krishna subduing Kaliya, many of the different residents in Vrindavan came to see Krishna, their dear Krishna, in the coils of this horrible serpent. Some of you are just coming now to the class, so we'll kind of backtrack a little bit, that Krishna's friends had gone to drink in the cows at the Yamuna, and just from the smell of the poison in the lake where the serpent had been, they all just lost their lives. So Krishna came, He glanced at them with His merciful glance, and He brought them back to life. Then Krishna decided to have some sporting fun and also to teach Kaliya a lesson. So He tightened His belt, He pulled back His hair, put it up in the top knot, and He jumped into the Yamuna. And it appeared that He was in the arms, the coils of Kaliya. So we could also think, how is it this Kaliya, who was so demoniac, so full of envy that Krishna's within his arms, his many arms, but he was. And then we see how Krishna comes and he dances on the head of the Kaliya serpent. And by his dancing, all the envy, all the anger, everything came out, and it was coming out in fire everywhere. So the mothers were fainting. They were ready to jump in. So in this particular verse, we see how Krishna reciprocated with the motherly affection of the mother gopis. And we see how the friends, they were just besides themselves. Our best friend is in the coil of this serpent. Of course, his brother Balaram, who's his first expansion, he wasn't worried because he knew the powers of Krishna. He was smiling. And the gopis, who were madly in love with Krishna, they were losing their life. Everything was just beyond everyone's understanding how this could be happening. So then we find that Krishna, out of compassion for his devotees, he let himself loose, and then he does the most beautiful dance. Krishna is known as an Natabar. So we see so much dancing in this material world, the classical Indian dancing, and all this dancing is coming from Krishna. How he's beautifully dancing on the head of the Kaliya serpent. And imagine being able to see that dancing. So while he's dancing and stepping on the heads, he's knocking all the poison out of the demon. So did anyone ever feel like Krishna's dancing on their head? Knocking out the anartas, or the poisons, cleaning out the heart. So then finally, he just becomes exhausted. He's ready to give up his life. So it's explained, in His Holiness Bear Krishna has explained that at one point, the wives and Nagapatnis, because he had many wives and children, the wives of Kaliya, at one point they think, let him die. We'll become widows and we'll just chant Hare Krishna. We'll go join New Goloka. We'll go join New Goloka and take shelter of Radha Golokananda. So they were just thinking, let him just die. We'll just chant the holy names. We'll just take shelter of Krishna. But then, when their husband, they could see that he had remorse, that he no longer was full of envy, then they were wanting to save him. So the mood that they approached Krishna with, and they're glorifying him, bringing out all of his opulences, all of his glories, all of his potencies in this mood of Aishwara, because they want to please the Lord so that he'll save their husband. They're praying, please save my husband. Although he was a demon, he was born with bad nature. By nature, he's just full of poison. But you can rectify him. He can surrender unto you. So they were praying for him. And in the course of praying for him, their mood was very much with awe, very much with the mood of awe and reverency. So they're seeing, Krishna, you're within everything, you're without everything, you're the cause of everything. You're here, but you're the prime mover, just like in the Western philosophy years ago. We had studied the Western philosophy, working on a philosophy book, and it talked about the prime mover, how he just sets everything in motion, but then he doesn't have anything to do with it. So we understand from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that in one sense that's true, that Krishna is enjoying pastimes in Vrindavan, and then he expands himself. And it's the expansions and the expansions of Krishna in the Mahavishnu forms that glance over this material world. And we have Shambhu and, looking out, Lord Shiva and Parvati in the creation. So all these things are explained within our Vedic literatures. So they're establishing the position of Krishna and begging his mercy to save their husband. So I wanted to compare that, because immediately what came to my mind was, in the chapters ahead, we're going to be reading about the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas. And these prayers are always very important to me, these pastimes, because the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas, they were by nature devotees. And so were the Nagapatnis. They were also devotees of Vishnu, of Krishna. And the wives of the Vedic Brahmanas, they had heard about Krishna through the local village people, from the flower sellers and the people of Vrindavan. They heard about his beauty, how beautiful he was. So when Balaram and the boys, they went to beg alms, when the boys went to beg alms on behalf of Krishna and Balaram, there wasn't Krishna and Balaram, the boys went, the Vedic Brahmanas told them, go away, we're doing our sacrifice, we're reciting our mantras and doing our mudras, and we're praying to Lord Vishnu, we don't have any time for you, just leave. So they left, and then Krishna and Balaram said, go back and ask them to donate, that we're asking, we're hungry, and especially Balaram, because he's of a higher caste. So then when they went, it's the wives that were so in love from hearing about Krishna that they immediately packed everything up that was meant for the sacrifice, all the offerings, all the food. They packed everything up and they left. They didn't care what their husband thought. They didn't care that they were needed to be there for the sacrifice to be successful. They didn't care. They took everything, they put it on their head, and they went to see Krishna. And when they saw the beauty of Krishna, they drank in the beauty of Krishna with their eyes. This was the Krishna they'd always heard about. So then Krishna, Swagatam, he welcomes them, and then the same way he wanted to send the gopis back, he tells them to go home. And they're like, how could we go home? We've come here, we've seen you. How could we possibly go home? The Vedic culture, our husbands will never allow us back in the house. We can never go home. He says, no, you go home, your husbands will accept you. But go home and remember me, remember my pastimes, and worship the deities. So they had Krishna's darshan, and at that time they were begging, let us just stay in the forest. We know we're not qualified to actually be in your pastimes. We know we're not qualified to be one of your maid servants, or even Goddess Lakshmi isn't able to, but at least we can just stay in the forest and get smell the tulsi leaves, get the dust. At least we can do that. And they were like, no. He was like, no, you must go home and serve. You could say, why did Krishna send them home? Why did he not send back the gopis? Because he was thinking in his pastime, he's covered by Yoga Maya. And so he's thinking, I'm a cowherd boy, and these are the wives of Brahmanas. And this is not the proper etiquette. It's not the proper etiquette. You're Brahmanes. You should go home and worship the Lord, and remember me, and assist your husbands, but always keep you in your heart. So how does that apply to us? It applies to us in many ways also, that sometimes we might want to, like Krishna, she's been speaking a lot about also knowing where our position is in devotional service and not wanting to, go over our head. So sometimes we might want to jump ahead of where we are in our spiritual life, but remembering Krishna, chanting the holy name, worshiping the deities, following our process of Krishna consciousness that Srila Prabhupada has given us, then gradually, step by step, we can come to a higher platform. So the comparison I wanted to make between these two different wives was that the Nagapatnis, they were faithful and chaste wives of their husband, and when their husband had a really bad mood and a really bad nature and he was going to die, they were ready to just give up everything and become widows, which is very difficult in that culture. But then, when their husband was free from that, they presented to Krishna, we are dependent upon him, our children are dependent upon him. We have no other life besides our husband. So Krishna took mercy on them, that let them go with Kaliya, we'll see, back to where they started. Let them go there and live happily ever after, and Garuda won't bother you anymore. But it was that idea that they still needed to be under the protection of their husband. They were at that point. They were worshiping the Supreme Lord, and they were worshiping in the mood of Aishwarya, but at the same time they needed to be with their husband. and their husband also became a devotee. So they were very happy that their husband was a devotee now, and they can all worship Krishna and progress together according to their level. And the wives of the Vedic Brahmanas, they were ready to give up everything for Krishna, and their prayers to Krishna were not at all motivated or concerned for their husband, and that they actually became the spiritual masters of their husband. And also, as Krishna Maharaj had mentioned in previous class, that actually the reason that Kaliya actually had a little bit of devotional service was actually that his wives acted as a spiritual master. They were telling him also to become a devotee. So we also can find ourselves in a position where we have unwanted qualities and unwanted samskaras that come up at different times. But if we take shelter of our spiritual master and we chant the holy names and we're willing to hear and to take instruction and take guidance, then gradually, step by step, our heart can become purified and we can advance in devotional service. So I just wanted to read quickly from the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita is always our baseline that we come back to, where Krishna himself is speaking and he's telling us about himself. So I'm just going to read the English because we're short on time. In text 4, Krishna says, "By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them." Text 5, "And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all creating beings rest in me." So the mood of the Nagapatnis was very much in this mood of how Krishna is presenting himself in the Bhagavad Gita with that understanding. But Krishna is beyond all of these things. And so we see Krishna as the greatest mystic, that by his potencies, he can make so many wonderful relations, wonderful pastimes. So then I just wanted to read one more verse at the end of the 9th chapter, which speaks in relationship to Kaliya. So here he was so demoniac. He was just born with a desire to cause harm to other living entities. And he had poisoned, great offense, he had poisoned the lake in the Yamuna. He had poisoned the coward boys. So how is it that we see, he heard from his wives who were devotees, and then Krishna danced on his head, and then he surrendered. And then Krishna says here, "Mam hi partha vipashchata ye pi sayu papayonaya striyo vaishtas tata sujas te piyanti param gatim." O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Sudras, can attain the supreme destination. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower and higher classes of people. And then I'll just read on a little bit. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2:14-18, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called Chandalas, can be purified by association with a pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. So we're not going to have Krishna dance on our head as he did on Kaliya, but we can become purified by associating with Krishna's pure devotees and taking their instruction and taking their guidance. So it is explained that one can learn by hearing, or one can learn by the stick. So it's up to us to decide, like, do I want to learn by experiencing Maya or Durga's trident, or do I want to learn by hearing the transcendental sound vibration that is being given to us through the great devotees of the Lord that is coming down directly? Do I want to be under the external energy of the Lord, or do I want to enter into the internal energy of the Lord? So we know that here we are fortunate. We have Sri Sri Radha Golokananda, who are very kindly glancing upon all of us and attracting us to take shelter of the internal energy of the Lord. So I usually go on longer than the class, and I'm trying to learn how to summarize and to stop in time. So my main point is that Krishna is within everything. He's the greatest mystic. With our own limited intelligence, we cannot understand him, but at the same time, we shouldn't think that spiritual life does not mean having a rational understanding. That's why Srila Prabhupada said it was the science of Krishna consciousness, the science of self-realization, and how sweet are Krishna's pastimes, and according to how we approach him, what is our mood of prayer, what is our mood of devotion, Krishna will give us a personal instruction. So how the spiritual master is speaking on behalf of Krishna and guiding everyone according to their own particular nature, how to come to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So I'd like to stop here and thank you very much for your kind time and for listening, and forgive me for any mistakes I might have made. And any questions or comments? Just a Prabhu.
In that purport that you just read part of, further down, there's a statement Prabhupada makes. The most simple man taking shelter of pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance.
Yes.
And Prabhupada here is speaking in a way of like saying, anybody can do it. But there's an interesting point there is the most simple man. In a positive light, how do we become a simple person who can take guidance?
How do we become a simple person who can take guidance? What we can realize, how we become simple, is that we can realize that it's not by mundane knowledge, it's not by false pride, it's not by aristocratic birth, that we can understand the inconceivable with our limited intelligence. And we also become simple by association with devotees that have chosen to simplify their life. That's why it's important. We know that the mode of goodness is just a stepping stone, and it's still within the modes of nature. But we also need to simplify our lives. Like, we need to remove the external clutter in our life and the internal clutter in our life. And one way that I found to become simple when I first came to Krishna consciousness and I was working under His Holiness Bear Krishna Goswami, who's sitting there in front of me, was that to be willing to do simple service. To be willing to do simple service. Because sometimes we might think we're very important, we're only meant to do important things, we're very intelligent, and then we find how wonderful it is to clean the stairs going up to the pujari room that the devotees' dust from their feet goes on. So I found actually by rendering service, simple service, it helps to make one simple. Yes, that's a very good point. Rudrani said, would the word simple have to do with getting rid of duplicity? Yes, because Prabhupada doesn't mean become simple like be a simpleton. Not to think, not to be able to, philosophically analyze things, not to be able to have, like Prabhupada, he wanted his devotees to be intelligent, to be able to discuss things from different points of view. But to be simple, like Rudrani is saying, not to be duplicitous, not to have an agenda, to be straightforward in our dealings with other devotees and with ourselves. Does that answer your question? Thank you all very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. I was very nervous to speak because you were here, Gurudev. Why don't you remind the devotees to make sure we turn off the microphone afterwards because it's on batteries.